Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to, where am I? Galva, Kansas. And today I want to talk about my healing journey and how I've gotten to where I'm at. But first, my name is Angelina, and I empower others to become the hero of their own story by teaching how to connect with and heal the inner child using the chakras. And you can find my website down below and learn more about me and my services. So my healing journey began in 2012. Gosh, it's hard to believe it's been that long ago. With the attempted suicide of my youngest child, then went by John. A few years later came out as transgender and now goes by Ruby. When she attempted suicide, and she damn near succeeded, it opened up a lot of wounds for me that I didn't realize were still there. I thought that they had gone away. My past was in the past and I didn't have to deal with it. Well, I was wrong. As a child, I went through every type of abuse known to man. And it was only when I started my healing journey that I began to understand any of that. But this, at the beginning, when Ruby first attempted suicide, this was actually her second attempt. We didn't know about her first attempt until she damn near succeeded the second time. I took it so personally. I felt like such a failure as a parent. I didn't want to live anymore. And I found myself back in that familiar, deep, dark hole, that deep, dark pit of despair. I've been in that pit before. The first time I tried to attempt suicide, I was 10 years old. So I understood her mindset. But I was in such a place that I wasn't ready to deal with it. It took me, probably a good couple of years to actually start coming out of that hole. It was helped along in that time frame. I discovered that I could actually paint in more than just the windows that I used to do in the holidays, the simple designs. I could actually paint landscapes and beautiful paintings. I had no idea I could do that. It also was helped by writing. I finished, I think, 3 novels and have several others started. I haven't done anything with them, but they're there if I ever decide to. I revisit them from time to time. And in coming out of that hole, helped through my creativity, I began to question everything that I had been taught, everything about the world, everything about God, everything about nature, everything about how we do things in this world, why we do the things we do, why do we do them this way? I questioned everything. And as I began to question, I began to understand slowly, step by agonizing step, that I was here for a purpose. And part of that purpose required my healing, required me to heal myself in order to help others heal themselves. I think I really began to understand that I was completely different when I found a author, Dolores Cannon, and Anyone who has knows what QHHT is, quantum hypnosis healing technique, knows who Dolores Cannon is. She is the mother of that technique. And she wrote many, many books based on her clients and what she learned from her clients. And in reading Keepers of the Garden, I began to understand more about Earth. And then I got into the convoluted universe, and oh wow, my mind was blown, and I started receiving download after download after download. And in these downloads, I began to understand why I went through some of the things I went through. I came here to be a cycle breaker. My family, on both sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's sides, abuse has run rampant for generation after generation after generation. It has become so normalized that it wasn't even considered abuse. It was normal. And even though I didn't grow up with my family, I was in and out of foster homes. My mother took off with me and my brother when we were very, very young. And I ended up, my brother and I both ended up with different families. My mother was a drug addict, and at the time she couldn't give up the drugs, but knew she had to give up either the drugs or the kids, and she couldn't give up drugs, so she gave up my brother and I. Not the conventional way of going through the system or giving us to a family member. No, she gave us to just two not random people she knew that she thought that would raise us well. That didn't end up being the case. Despite the fact that I didn't grow up with my family, I still went through the abuse that many of my family members also went through, that, and they never or rarely talk about. There's only a couple of them that actually talk about what they've been through, and those are the other curse breakers in my family. So, in learning that I was here to break the cycle, I became aware of all the abuse that I went through that had been buried. And when that came up, that was very devastating as well. One memory in particular, I couldn't have been more than 6 years old, and I had told somebody what was happening to me. And the person I told, I thought I could trust, but apparently I couldn't, because the person that was abusing me found out, and he took me and my dog and my kitten that I had been raising. I don't remember what happened to the mother, but I had been raising 4 kittens, and this one was my favorite. He was the runt, and he was the one that needed the special care. He took us into his room. He got Bear, my cat, purring. He was just a little fluff ball. And then he snapped his neck. And then he took Lucky, my dog, rolled him over on his back, was rubbing his tummy, and Lucky was just having a good old time. And then out of nowhere, he took a knife and gutted the dog right in front of me. I couldn't handle that. That memory was quickly suppressed. And experiencing it as an adult, I can certainly understand why a child could never handle that. So my ego, my subconscious, buried that memory. There were a few others that were buried as well. Those memories came to the surface, and I understood the fear that I went through, the shame, the guilt, where my people pleasing came from. but it also shut me down. I no longer expressed myself openly, honestly. I wasn't myself anymore. And I carried that weight with me clear up until my 40s. I was in my 40s when I started my healing journey. I'm 57 now. I was in my early 40s. Wait, or was I in my 30s? Hell, fuck, I don't know anymore. Anyway, I'd have to do the math. Anyway, crawling out of that pit was very, very hard. All these memories came surfacing, and I thought that I had failed as a parent. I didn't want my kids to go through anything that I had gone through. I didn't want them to suffer at all. And when I woke up, I found myself married to a narcissistic alcoholic. Very mentally abusive. He never once struck the kids or I. Not once. Not even threatened to hit us. But his words tore us all apart. And when Ruby attempted suicide, I realized that I hadn't protected her or her older sister at all. And I felt like a failure. I felt like life was over. But as I started to question everything, why was I having to endure this? I knew everything had a purpose. Everything that's happened in my life, I've known from the very, very start that everything I have experienced has been for a reason. And I always thought that if my story could help even just one person, just one, then everything that I have endured has been worth it. But my story wasn't to help other people, although it can. My story was first and foremost to help me. For me to become the hero of my own story. So in 2018, I finally got the courage to leave my husband. I was terrified. I've never been on my own before. I went from living in foster homes, in a group home, and my dad family when I was almost 13, living with my dad, and then my stepmom, and then getting married 2 weeks out of high school. I've never been on my own, and I was absolutely terrified. I didn't think I could support myself. And it wasn't just me. I was also taking Ruby with me, although she was an adult by that point. She was still very much, and still is, very, very depressed and in that mode, that victim mode. It's not something that I've been able to bring her out of, and it's not something that I can. She's got to be the one that makes a choice, not me. I can't do anything for her until she's willing to do it for herself. So she and I moved out, and I found an apartment for myself, but I also knew that I wasn't going to be able to support myself on a part-time bartender's job. I had quite a bit saved up by that point because it took me 9 months to actually find a place. And I was in that place for a year. Let me back up for a second. When I started looking for a second job, a friend of mine who was she was the manager of a small medical facility. Well, not even facility, a one at the time, one nurse practitioner in Washington State. Nurse practitioners can practice on their own without being underneath a doctor, actual medical doctor, an MD. Um, and they were looking for somebody to work the front desk, and she asked me to come in and interview, and I told her, I don't have any office experience at all. And she says, it doesn't matter, I can train you. So I got that job. And that job was enough that I could actually quit the bartending job. So I was no longer bartending. I was just working at the medical office. And then, well, COVID hit. And I had just moved into another apartment. And during COVID, I decided I was going to college. And I started courses online. I was going for medical coding and billing. I thought that's what I wanted to do. But while I was doing that, and reading as much as I could at that point on, anything metaphysical, I also was taking a course on Reiki energy. I wanted to become a Reiki practitioner. And I actually went through all the way through the course and am a Reiki master. I have the knowledge and the capability of teaching others this wonderful healing modality. But in learning Reiki and practicing on myself first and foremost, I began to forgive those in my past. Not just forgiving the others, forgiving myself. I hadn't realized how much I had blamed myself. I thought that I was doing something wrong, that it was my fault somehow that all this was happening. Typical victim. But I began to forgive myself and realize that none of it happened to me. Nothing in this life has ever happened to me. Everything, 100%, has happened for me, my growth, my healing, my journey, learning who I truly am. And in being able to forgive myself, it opened up my perceptions. It broadened my perceptions of the world, of the people in the world. It brought me closer to myself. It brought me into my heart space and out of my head, at least most days. And I decided that I wanted to make a business, that I was done working in mainstream. I was done working 9 to 5, working for somebody else. I was done playing the game that the Matrix wanted me to play. I no longer wanted to play that game. So I decided I was going to go into healing and art myself. At the time, I wanted to open an art and healing center. And I actually saw a vision of me doing this. And I saw myself working on a client, but I had a partner. And of course, the ego parts of me clung on to that, and spent time trying to fit people into that mold of that vision that I saw. But I'm realizing and realized that that vision was only one possibility, that I can make whatever the hell I want to make in this world. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. I can be whatever I want to be. I don't need to fit in any goddamn mold. So I reached out. I saw an ad on Facebook, business, women in business. I don't remember exactly how the ad read now, but I actually did reach out to this person. And she's a really, really good friend of mine now. She's actually more than that. She's family. She's my sister. But she helped me get started. And in working with her, working through my fears of going out on my own, truly going out on my own, and deciding what it is I really, really wanted in life. And honestly, I'm still deciding that. But right now, that is exploring the U.S., but and helping others along my way. In working with her, I developed this program. She told me about a visualization that she had used in her own healing journey, and I took that tool that she gave me and I made it my own. I used that tool to connect not just with my inner child, but I used that tool through each of my chakras. I used what I had learned from becoming a Reiki master, and I had just finished up my quantum hypnosis healing technique classes. So I used what she gave me and developed a unique program. I've never seen anything like it, and Mary certainly hasn't seen anything like it either, where I'm using Reiki techniques and quantum healing techniques, connecting with the inner child and each individual chakra, and healing the inner child through those chakras, clearing that energy, that stagnant energy that's been there, healing. It's been an amazing, amazing journey. And in 2020, this is 2023, I decided I was moving. I was starting my journey. I was moving, and at the time I was going to be moving down to Arizona. I didn't know what this was going to work, but I was going to move. And I was looking at all the possibilities of how this was going to work out. And as I started developing this vision, this dream, I realized it's not that I wanted to move to Arizona. I wanted to travel. So I started looking into travel trailers and motor homes, and decided I wanted to get a Class C motor home. One, because the Class Cs are easier to get into than, or cheaper to get into than the Class As, and Class Cs are smaller. And I wanted a Class C because I wanted the overhead storage. I wanted the extra room. And then I began to looking at different ones that out there, and I found the one that I have now. It is a 25-foot Jayco Red Hawk, the 22C SE. It's on a Chevy chassis. Anyway, and in 2024, I filed for divorce. And with the money that I got from that, I bought my motor home. I bought my truck that I could tow behind it. And I have been traveling since November of 2024. And I have been all down the West Coast, started in Washington, went down through Oregon and California. Spent most of the winter in Arizona, exploring the western part of Arizona. Went up into Nevada a little bit, but not much. Up to Las Vegas. I wanted to experience Las Vegas from a different perspective. I've done the Strip. I've done Fremont. I wanted a different experience. And Vegas is a lot different once you get off the Strip and the touristy stuff. Anyway. that's pretty much been my journey. I went back up through the coast because I knew that I was going to be heading east, and I didn't know when I was going to be back in that area. And I just love the ocean. I have such a strong connection with the ocean. And I wanted to say my one last goodbye, and I also wanted to say goodbye to friends and family, because I don't know when I'll be back to Washington if I ever go back. So I went up and I said my goodbyes, and I headed east into Montana. The moment I crossed into Montana, I felt like I was home. So many memories started coming up. Past life memories started coming up. When I crossed the line into Montana, I felt welcomed. I saw in my mind many Native American chiefs and medicine people, medicine men and women. 4 in particular. I saw them in my mind, welcoming me, celebrating. It was such an experience. So much so that I almost had to pull over. And then I went and met Mary, and I stayed with her on her property for a couple of weeks. And we had, this was my business coach. She's my mentor. She's my sister. I spent a couple of weeks with her, and then went further east to further east in Montana. The name of the town is slipping my mind at the moment. But I visited another friend there. Spent almost a month with her. And then crossed into North Dakota and had another past life experience come up. This whole journey from the time that I left Washington until now, even coming into Kansas, I have had remembrances, soul remembrances. Each one has been profound. Each one has brought me closer to who I truly am. Not every life has been pleasant. Some I was massacred, some I was tortured. But some are really just good lives. Some had traumatic endings. Some didn't. And that really brings me to where I'm at today. It's been a journey. And if you're ready to start your own journey, visit the link below. Click on free consult and make your appointment. Thank you. I love you, and I'll see you soon.